Welcome back. Last summer, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. In the Dobbs decision, they eliminated the constitutional right to abortion. States will now decide the issue, most likely leading to numerous lawsuits. And I asked Chief Justice Mike Heavican what he's expecting in his court. Do you think the abortion issue will come before the Nebraska Supreme Court?
Well, the federal courts seem to have washed their hands of the issue. I can't predict what will come to us in the future, but it certainly would not surprise me if some of those cases now came to federal court, or excuse me, to state court that used to be in federal court.
Well, after the Dobbs decision was released last year, a lot of people, a number of people I will say, said that they had lost faith in the judiciary. Do you think people are losing faith in the judiciary?
Well, I certainly hope not, but I think that it is important in building trust with the public that we are as open as possible and as aggressive as we can be about getting the story of the judiciary to the public. And so we have tried to implement a number of things to sort of boost that philosophy, if you will. Probably 10 years ago, we began webcasting our oral arguments live. We also have tried to take the Supreme Court on the road. So we go to high schools, we try to make it to at least 3 high schools every year. We have also encouraged our trial courts to open themselves to cameras in the court, which a lot of folks didn't think that they would like or want to do, but I think most of our trial court judges now not just accept this, but understand that it's a very good thing. So you folks now get to bring your cameras into our courtrooms, which was not allowed before. We've had 5 years of that now. Iowa has been doing it for probably at least 25 years, in Colorado for 50 years. I'm very glad we got around to doing it. We even have one judge, Judge Doyle, out in Lexington, who has a YouTube channel or broadcasts on YouTube, so all of his hearings are open for everybody in the community to see and everybody else to see. And I would love it if more of our trial courts did that.
Access to the courts has always been kind of your bullet points when you give your addresses to the legislature. Is this something that you've always felt was critical?
Well, you asked the question earlier about trust and building trust.
Right.
If people can see what actually goes on in their courtrooms, most people don't have time to come down and walk into the courtroom and just watch, but if they can see what's going on, I think they will see how difficult the problems are that judges have to deal with, and I think that trust will be increased. It has also paid off, I think, for the judicial branch over the last 5 years for sure, and probably for the last 10 years. Both our legislatures and our governors have adequately funded the courts in a way probably that had not happened in the history of the court system. And our judges' salaries have been increased so that they are competitive. And that is extremely important because, as I said earlier, you have to be able to attract really the very best lawyers we have to be judges if you want to have a good court system and if you want to have people have trust in that system.
Office of the Public Guardian is under your purview. It's designed to serve as the guardian or conservator for an individual, often seen as the last resort for some of the people who are compromised, if you will. Office just released its latest report saying of the 94 nominations, they could only accept about 15 cases, if I'm looking at those numbers correctly. Why can't they take all the cases? What's the problem?
Well, there aren't enough, there aren't enough associate public guardians. It's a simple problem, and I think we could all have anticipated this, and I think the legislature has anticipated it somewhat. There's a bill to add more associate public guardians this year, which we, of course, very much favor because there simply are too many cases for the handful of people that we have doing this to handle.
Yeah, there were some added last year, associate
Right.
public guardians.
Yes.
Still, there are vacancies.
Right.
Can you ever get ahead of the problem? Or what's it going to take outside of just sheer money?
Well, it's going to take a lot of money, and of course we've got an aging population, and that's going to mean there are going to need to be more guardians for folks. The public guardian in particular has, I think, focused on the really, or brought a focus to the really, really difficult cases. I think that I thought, and I think most people thought, that the public guardian is going to be handling the case where Aunt Bertha is in nursing home, there's no family left, there's nobody to take care of Aunt Bertha. But in fact, the really difficult cases are the 21-year-old mentally retarded sex offender who nobody wants anything to do with. Family doesn't want this person, nobody else wants this person. And those are the kinds of cases that the public guardian has had to take. And those folks live a lot longer than Aunt Bertha. Those are cases the public guardian will have for the next 20 years or 30 years or 50 years. And so a lot of resources are going into those really, really difficult cases.